Hey, and welcome back. I'm Rob, aka ShipDriver71, and today we are going to finish the flight from Salt Lake City to San Diego in the newly rebooted Leonardo Maddog X, also known as the McDonnell Douglas MD-82. While we were cruising to our destination at 32,000 feet, I thought I would take back some comments that I made about the VC textures in the last video. For when I set them to 4096 and have the sim set to 4096 as well, the VC textures in the Maddog are as crisp and clear as one could want. One can get extremely close and see no loss of detail. Now I still think that a lot of the gauges and displays lack a certain three-dimensionality that one can find in other add-ons, but to be honest, I have no real complaints. Probably the biggest niggle for me, and this is kind of illustrative of how great this is, the 3D modeling of the coiled cables here could use a little TLC. By comparison, cables in the TFDI 717 VC are fantastic, and probably part of the rather high GPU load for that aircraft. But look at the texture on the cover of the Jeppesen manual. Nice. Other secondary areas of the VC that stand out are the cockpit door and the circuit breaker panel behind the captain's chair. I tell you, this plane just keeps growing on me. At the suggestion of GL, I acquired and installed SimStarter NG. One thing I love about it is how one can create profiles not only with different settings, but different add-on configurations, which is important for P3D, and scenery library settings. Thus, for GA aircraft, I can have all the ORBX goodies activated and all of the big add-on airports disabled, as well as DLLs for payware airliners, like the iFly, the Maddog, and add-ons like RAS Pro, none of which are used when flying a GA aircraft. It really helps strip down the sim to what you need for that type of flying. For tube liners, I run over FTX global territory, and the only full-fat regions activated are the out-of-the-way frame rate friendly ones like Central Rocky Mountains and Northern Rocky Mountains. And if I'm flying an airliner overseas, I can really strip it down to just global and no North American airport add-ons at all. Ironically, it does not allow disabling of the message text checkbox, which is what I originally wanted it for. So apparently that will be reactivated every time one starts the sim, no matter what. Nonetheless, there's so much more to like from that software that I've kept it and I love it. Now for the approach into San Diego. Winds are out of the west, so we will be using runway 27, which to be honest is the exciting one. I pulled the star out of FlightAware for this Delta flight. I'm actually replicating the time and date as well, although the real flight was a 717, not an MD-82. The approach used is the RNAV-Y approach for runway 27. I'm not really sure an MD-82 is up to doing a full-scale RMP approach. A couple things I discovered on a practice run. The CDU legs have a very high approach speed. Because I am so light with not much fuel remaining at touchdown, about 2,900 pounds, VREF at flaps 40 is only 120 knots. The CDU has 170 knots as the final speed. So when I redid the landing for the video, I modified the speeds in the CDU flight pan to better correspond to a more sane approach. Another thing that happened was when I was at about 2,500 feet inbound, the plane in VNAV wanted to make a high-speed dive. So I took manual control almost immediately after lowering the landing gear. You can see the beginning of the dive just before I took hand control in the video. After that, I basically let the PAPI lights guide me in. Starting somewhat high, she bled off speed painfully slowly, and I got down to VREF just in time to touch down. Even so, it was a much better landing than the practice run because my speed was much lower. With newer aircraft like the 737NG or the 777, one can just ride VNAV and LNAV almost to touchdown, or even including touchdown if you want. But I think that with the MD-82, VNAV and LNAV should probably be cancelled before one is on final. The airport we are landing at is, of course, San Diego International Airport. The weather conditions in active sky said that it would be partly cloudy, which may have been the case, but when I got close, there was a very strong haze. The TAF was P6SM, and the active sky was saying 10 plus statute miles of visibility. But it sure didn't look like it. Maybe active sky secretly adds smog to Southern California. This airport is the LatinVFR version. I'd had the LatinVFR version since it first came out, and I got the new Prepar3D V4 version 2 that came out a few months ago. There is an alternative from ORBX, but paying the tiny upgrade price for the LatinVFR version, plus reports of lower frame rate to the ORBX version, persuaded me to stick with LatinVFR, even though I'm sure that there are better visuals in the ORBX version, it being ORBX after all. Regardless, LatinVFR is a pretty darn good airport, and it's built from the ground up using P3D V4 techniques. But anyways, enough talk, let's get on with the approach into KSAN.
473, contact Tijuana approach on 119.5.
Gear down.
119.5, 473.
$2,500. $1,000.
Approaching 27.
$500. 400. 300. 200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Two in reverse. $60.
4,000
Reverse lights
feet
out.
remaining.
Ultimate Traffic Live is set to 80% for this landing, simply because that's what it was set at Salt Lake City to prevent AI overabundance there. Here, 80% clearly gives the airport activity, but it's not as congested as SLC. And yes, Ultimate Traffic Live is awash with outdated liveries like these Alaska and Southwest planes. Well, I hope you liked what you saw. If so, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, by all means subscribe, and make sure you click that little bell icon to ensure you're actually notified of new content coming out. And we'll see you next time.